Lately, I've been making loads of videos about how you can improve your soil fertility and quality. And it's the one thing that you can do for your garden that can make or break your gardening year. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about green manures. I'm Tony O'Neill and this is UK Here We Grow, and on this channel we deal with all things gardening, poultry keeping and beekeeping. If you want that perfect garden to relax in or just want to grow your own nutrient dense foods, then start now by clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified each time I release new content just like this. If you've followed my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I'm serious for my soil quality and fertility, and it's the very reason why I keep saying feed your soil and not your plants. Now, using green manures is fantastic because not only does it add in the quality by increasing the fertility and the structure of your soils, but it can also help in getting rid of pests in your soils too. Throughout this video, I'm going to be sharing with you tips and reasons why growing green manure can really make a massive difference in your garden. So what is green manure? Green manures are fast-growing plants that are used to cover bare soil. It's typically used in the vegetable garden, and their foliage will help suppress weeds and the roots will help stop erosion. Now, green manures are fantastic because they will able to take up nutrients and increase the soil fertility and structure. And green manures are typically sown in the late summer or early autumn, and they're fantastic plants because they will take bare ground like this and they will mop up all the nutrients out of that ground. And you might think that this is a bad thing, but it's really good because when you cut it down when it's still green, then those nutrients are then released back into the soil for the plants to be used. And the great thing is, as long as you cut them down 4 weeks before you want to plant in that soil, all the nutrients that they mopped up are now readily available for your new seedlings. So what types of green manure are there? Well, there are loads of varieties of green manure, and they're becoming even more popular now than they ever used to be. You're now starting to see them in all the seed catalogues. There are loads of different varieties with lots of different benefits, and each has its own set of properties. Now, typically though, they all do 4 things, and that is they help suppress weeds, they will take up nutrients out of the soil and then re-release them when you cut them down. They will help build soil fertility and structure, and they will also help water retention. So they're fantastic crops. Now, there are 2 specific varieties that are worth mentioning separately from everything else. And the first of those is mustard. Now, mustard is fantastic because, number one, it's a biofumigant. And because it's a biofumigant, it is ideal to sow directly after potatoes, because what this does is it can really affect eelworm numbers. And how it does this is it hardens the cysts on the eelworms and it prevents them from hatching out so quickly. And when they can't hatch out properly, then the breeding cycle is broken because they're hatching out at different rates rather than all together. And the second of those is field beans. Now, field beans I've used for years. They are a fantastic crop, and being a legume, they literally take up nitrogen out of the air and they store it on nodules on their root system, and then when you churn this into the ground in spring, that nitrogen breaks down and becomes readily available to your plants. There are other plants that can be used, and they fall into 2 categories, and the first category is frost hardy. Now, frost hardy plants are typically things like alfalfa, field beans, clovers with not crimson, rye grazing, rye annual, tares, trefoil and hairy vetch. And then you have those that are not frost hardy, such as buckwheat, crimson clover, fenugreek, lupins, mustard, phacelia and fodder radish. Now mustard is fantastic because, as I said earlier on, you can sow it even though it's not frost hardy. If you've got a patch of land that you've harvested out of and it's just lying feral, then sow it up with some mustard. Because it's a biofumigant, it's going to help to eradicate some of the pests in that soil. So how do you grow green manures? Well, that will depend on the seed. For things like field beans, these seeds are large and you can literally just sow them in lines like you would broad beans or fava beans. And for things like what I have here, these look like brassica seeds, and these are perfect for just broadcasting all over the soil, and then you can rake that in to get some sort of soil contact there, and these will grow really quickly, typically germinating in 5 to 10 days. Like I said earlier on, you can buy seed now from all the seed catalogues, but I go through so much of it. I buy it by the sack. Now in this sack I've got probably around about 15 kilos left, and this 15 kilos would be more than enough to do about 3/4 of an acre of land. So it really is a good way of dealing with things. Now this particular one is called hairy vetch, and it's a fantastic green manure, and it gets really tall in the spring. It'll germinate and probably get to about 12 inches before the first frosts kick in. But being hairy vetch, this will go right through winter. Now we know how to grow our green manures. Just one thing I want to add on that one subject before I continue. If after you've sown your green manures, there's a period of dryness, we've had no rain or anything like that, then it's important to water them in. But at this time of year, in the autumn, we shouldn't have any problems with that. And in fact, we've had the last 2.5 weeks of rain here. We've got a dry day today, and they forecast another week of rain. So sowing these is not going to be an issue for me. When do we know when to dig in the green manure? Well, there's two options with that. You can cut it down and leave it just sit on the top as a mulch and plant through it, or you can dig it in. Now, I prefer to just cut it and leave it, and it will take roughly about 4 weeks for it to start decomposing properly to make the nutrients available to your crops. So ideally, when you want to plant out your first crops, you want to do it about a month before. If you dig it in, that's going to get that nutrients back into the soil where you need them, rather than waiting for the rain to soak it back through the soil. With field beans, don't allow them to go woody, otherwise it's going to take forever for them to break down when you dig them in. So dig those in before they go woody. And with clovers, make sure that you dig in when they start to flower, because once they flower they go to seed really quickly. Question of the day: have you grown green manures before? And if you have, which ones and how did you find them? Put your comments down in the comment section below so that we can all learn as a community. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you got value from this video, you can subscribe here. And when you've done that, you can continue learning all about soils in this video right here. I'm Tony O'Neill, this is UK Here We Grow, and remember folks, you reap what you sow. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.